Hey guys, welcome back. So for this one, we've reached the conclusion of Carnage Reigns with Miles Morales issue 7 and Carnage Reigns Omega, where here we'll see things get turned up a few notches before it's all said and done. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so going into the conclusion of Carnage Reigns, we begin with the three Cletus Cassidy stands who have now come together, meeting up in Jamaica, Queens to see if they can figure out how to actually use these Iron Man suits that Cassidy gave them. But while they're inspecting the Symbiote infused merchandise, Cassidy activates them, suits them up, and gets them heading towards the fight. Where now, back in Manhattan, Symbiote Cassidy is giving Miles and the other Cape Killers a run for their money. And the only person who's shown the potential of being able to stop Cassidy is the Red Goblin, and he's out cold. So Miles is trying to get him to safety while really everyone else is just trying to do what they can. And for a moment, Taskmaster gets a lift from Electro so he can get a better angle for his arrows, but this really doesn't do anything aside from annoying Cassidy even more. So he then sets his sight on Taskmaster and Electro. So Taskmaster tells Electro she needs to speed up because Cassidy's closing in fast. So to speed things up, she drops the dead weight, which was him. To where next she makes her way to Miles and tells him to give her his hand so he can charge her up with his bioelectricity so she can send it right to Cassidy. And with the way this is done, I'm surprised she wasn't just like Kamehame, because the delivery and the blast both come off like there's just heavy Dragon Ball inspiration going on here. But this blast did not take out Cassidy, and it didn't faze him nearly as much as Miles' Venom blast back at the diner, which just goes to show how much stronger Cassidy is now. And he doesn't waste any time getting his lick back, with him taking a slice out of Electro, which also knocks her off the building, though fortunately Hightail's there to catch her. And for Taskmaster, it's like he couldn't wait to tell Electro that's what she gets for dropping him earlier. But also Taskmaster managed to swipe a little something from Stark Unlimited that he wanted to test out, which really is just an RPG that he's hoping is gonna have some kind of extra Stark tech on it that'll stop Cassidy once and for all. But when he lets it off, Cassidy just swats it towards a building, endangering a number of civilians. So Miles and Hightail team up and get over there quick so that she can throw the people out to him and he can web them up safely before they're crushed in all the debris, which is a quick plan that worked out rather nicely. But the funny thing is, with Miles catching all these civilians and webbing them up safely, Scorpion then just comes crashing down after attempting to take on Cassidy solo, which now just leaves Miles and Hightail versus Cassidy, with Agent Gao radioing in like, you two better hold the line. And to make things worse, Sergeant Ahmed lets Agent Gao know they got 3 Stark Tech energy signatures heading their way, and they're older models at that. And Agent Gao really doesn't know what this means. Not fully, not yet. And not too long after, her and some of her men come in for air support. But while they're trying to help Miles, Hightail, and Scorpion, the pilot tells her that they're picking up something on the radar. And at first, Gao thinks it's the 3 incoming Stark relics, which I mean, she's halfway right, cause it's Tony Stark, who's a relic in his own right. But this Dragon Slayer armor that Tony's wearing, it's brand new. And from the moment that Tony shows up, he's hitting Cassidy with all kind of sonics, blasts, constructs, you name it. Because ever since Cassidy took the Symbiote from Tony, he had been planning for this moment when Cassidy would return with it, which is also why this titanium armor that Tony's wearing is themed like a knight. Since, you know, the Symbiote is a symbiote dragon, so who better to slay the dragon than a knight in shining armor from a long time ago. And Tony's not playing any games. He cranks up the power because he wants Cassidy to feel this. But also by using so much juice, Tony completely drains his power cells, which then causes him to come crashing down. So he asks Miles to give him a jump, and just like that, Tony's back up. And it's cool to see because Miles Morales, he ain't no Kevin Gates, but if you need a jump, he'll get you going with just a touch. But in the middle of this conversation, Cassidy catches Miles slipping from behind by running an Symbiote scythe right through him, only to then take off and leave, while telling them that he's done with the small fry and that he needs to bite at something bigger. He needs to spread this thing far and wide. He needs to spread real carnage, which now leaves Miles bleeding out with a punctured lung and broken ribs. So Tony tells him to stay still, cause this is gonna sting a lot, as Tony gives Miles what he calls a special cast to speed up his recovery process, which will both keep him protected and keep his vitals up, with Miles now having a brand new Iron Spider suit, which looks so good. But as soon as Miles gets it, him and Tony go right after Cassidy, with there really being no time to just stop and appreciate how good the new spider armor looks. Which makes sense because Cassidy's the priority right now. But I also gotta say, if nothing else, Carnage Reigns has brought some nice looking drip scattered around here and there. And you already know I'm a sucker for some new skins or fresh colorway, so more often than not, I'ma welcome the new additions. But getting back to it, with Tony and Miles catching up with Cassidy, they hit him hard. And Cassidy hits back, which is a counter that knocked Tony and Miles into a building, which causes Tony to stop for a second and call for a huddle, where he then lets the team know if they can get him inside of that thing, he can take down Cassidy for good. And it's a plan that doesn't initially sit well with Miles, because he doesn't want to kill anybody, even someone like Cletus Cassidy. But Tony lets him know they might not even have that choice this time, and after that he calls for his temporary Avengers to assemble so they can go and slay this dragon. Which at the end, that was really Tony doing a bit of fast talk so he ain't gotta go back and forth with Miles. But while the team is tearing into Cassidy, Cletus lets out a call for all the civilians under his control, as well as his new team of Iron Men, to assemble and take on Dragon Slayer Tony and his temporary Avengers. So Agent Gal, with her seeing the mismatch from above, she sends the Red Goblin back into the fight, which now just has her up in the chopper with the pilot and Kenneth Neely. But down on the ground, when Tony sees these other suits, his throwback suits laced with Extrembiote material, it's just causing the technical side of him to have so many questions, because at a glance he doesn't understand how they're powered, or even how Cletus got his hands on those older suits in particular. But he doesn't think about it too long before him and Miles gotta fight them off, and eventually Tony activates Earmuff Protocol, which automatically covers Miles' ears too, to where next Tony uses a heavy sonic attack that just blasts the Cassidy stands out of their suits. And also with seeing this, Tony tells Miles that the real Cletus Cassidy's long gone, and all that's really left is a mess of tech and a number of compounds fighting for control, in hopes of helping Miles understand that Cletus Cassidy's already dead. So what they're planning to do is not like they're actually killing him. Meanwhile with Agent Gal, Kenneth Neely sees his opportunity when a piece of one of the Extrembiote Iron Men splashed on the window of the chopper, so he bonds with that piece. He grabs the pilot and he sends the chopper going down fast. Cause for Neely, the way he sees it, Cletus can't lose here today because Neely needs him to go after Carnage. So this guy's wildin', he's a man on a mission. So he sends the chopper going down as he smacks Agent Gal out of it, which now sets off Miles' spider sense since they got a chopper incoming. So he quickly hops to it and he saves Agent Gal. But we'll have to wait and see if any of this contributes towards changing her mind as far as the way that she feels about supers, cause Miles and Tony could have just got out the way. And with Neely making his way to Cassidy, Neely lets him know that he got his message. He understands his purpose now, and he tells Cassidy even if he beats Iron Man and Spider-Man here, Carnage is still out there in the stars, waiting. But Cletus more or less takes this as a sign of disrespect, because he's not going to let Neely tell him what he can and can't do. So he takes back the piece of the Extrembiote that Neely has on him, for Cassidy to get himself nearly back to full power, only for him to then impale a dazed and confused Kenneth Neely and absorb him into himself, while telling Neely, come on, you had to know it was going to end this way. So next, Tony tells Miles to buy him some time so that Tony can prep the air quotes nuclear option, which at first Miles thought he was talking about literally. But no, it's the same EMP plan, and he lets Miles know that he's gonna need at least 5 minutes. And as Miles goes back to Cassidy to keep him busy, Neely speaking to Cassidy from the Hive, telling him how he's incomplete without the Carnage Symbiote, and how what Cassidy is now is nothing compared to what the Carnage Symbiote has become. And it's a lot for Cassidy to handle, with him having to juggle fighting Iron Spider Miles Morales and listen to Neely, who's even annoying in death. And this is something that Miles takes full advantage of, even though he doesn't know what exactly is going on as far as the conversation between Neely and Cassidy, cause for Miles he thinks it's just the extra training that's causing him to do so good all of a sudden. Which to me, I'm kinda like, I don't think so. And I mean maybe a little, but I'm pretty sure the new suit as well as Cassidy slowing down because of Neely have something to do with it as well. But either way, doesn't matter, because the 5 minutes are up and Tony's back, so he goes full speed right into Cassidy's chest, because now that his ultimate's charged up, he can hit the EMP full power purge from the inside and blast Cassidy into pieces. Which for Tony, this is another one of those things that's just a one-off. So his suit's practically fried, and he's not able to do a scan for any signs of life to make sure that Cassidy's gone. So Tony just eyeballs it, and he's like, Cassidy looks pretty gone to me. Because now the civilians are all coming back to their senses, and any signs of Extrembiote matter seems to have been fried, which now pretty much wraps up Carnage Reigns. But there's one more thing that happens here that I am not happy about. And it's the fact that before Tony leaves, he takes back the Iron Spider suit, which right there just had me like, man, can your boy just hold it for a few more issues? Or at least let him rock it through the next event coming up? Like, come on. But nope, Tony just tells Miles it's more like a, break the glass in case of emergency type of thing. And that's that. So from here, Tony gives Miles a ride back to Brooklyn, which I guess is the least he can do, which now gets Miles back to his family. But back over at the blast site, we see that there's still a small puddle of extrymbiote goo with a face emerging from it, which lets us know that the larger story yet continues. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/Dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.